Hi everyone, it's Jay here, and today I wanted to talk about my top 3 most motivating characters in Shojo. For me, these 3 characters inspire me to work hard, which is what I need at the moment. Like everyone else, I have goals, and I made a lovely list at the start of the year, and 4 months on I find myself flagging and feeling a bit lost, hence the video. I really draw inspiration from characters I watch on TV and read in books. Goku's training sequences in Dragon Ball Z always made me want to train harder in high school. In the Songs of the Lioness Quartet, Alana hits a point where her schoolwork and training is overwhelming her, and she has the freedom to leave. No one is going to stop her, but after a brief moment of deciding she's going to give it all up, she asks for help from someone better than her at sword fighting. She goes on to become one of the most famous knights in the land. Okay, it's a fiction book, not a manga, but I remember these characters inspiring me to keep going, to not give up. So now that I've started to flag with my own motivation, I wanted to remind myself of some of the most hardworking characters in shoujo. But I had some criteria for myself when making this list. I chose female characters because I generally find myself relating to them more. Further down the line, I do want to do more videos on motivational characters in areas other than just hard work, and they will include more than just female characters, but for now, I'm really loving shoujo at the moment, and so I'm sticking to this genre. I also will only be basing these choices on manga I have read. You may watch this and completely disagree with me. That's awesome. It's probably just because I haven't read those series yet, so I haven't had the joy of reading about those characters. Do tell me in the comments below. I love hearing about new series, but I typically only read manga I've physically bought, so there's a limit to how much I have read. That's not me being snobbish, it's just that my job involves a lot of screen time, so I prefer to read physical books. My final criteria is that they have to be hard workers. There are so many characters out there who are inspirational in other ways, who can motivate you to be forgiving and kind to others, but I need motivating to get more work done and to keep on pushing through the workload. So those are my criteria. Let's start with my third most motivating character, which is Keiya from Midnight Secretary. This is a 7-volume series that was printed under Shojo in English in 2013. It follows Keiya Satazuka, who takes great pride in being a secretary, known for her hard work. She ends up being secretary for the company's director, which is this guy here, who is known to be difficult to work for. He's also a vampire, and as the series goes on, she discovers this and ends up helping him when he needs blood, and feelings grow from there. So, why is Keiya on the list? From the very beginning, she's a hard worker. She works non-stop during the office hours and does some overtime too. She never complains, just keeps hammering away at the workload. Other secretaries come to her for help and everyone just seems to get on. They're there for the job and no one is trying to trip anyone else up to make themselves look good, which is actually really nice. As things happen between Keiya and the director, Kyohei, particularly at the beginning of the series, the way she carries on with her job so professionally is inspiring. At times I was getting second-hand embarrassment, but Keiya calmly carries on with her work, making eye contact with Kyohei, never letting her feelings interfere with her work. It is admirable, and hats off to her. There is a point where she's struggling with her emotions and the cruel words from Kyohei, and she becomes an efficiency machine. Even her co-workers notice. I love this trope, ignoring your feelings and throwing yourself into work. Not something people should do, but it makes for a good bit of storytelling if done well. There's also a point where she is put on loan to another company, working for them to train their newly hired secretaries. That's where you see just how proficient she is at her job. She doesn't just show them what to do, she teaches them so that in the future they are capable of doing tasks on their own and adapting to different situations thrown at them. During this story arc, she also ends up back working for the director in the evenings, so she spends most of her waking hours working, and it just doesn't slow her down. Okay, There are issues with this, and in the real world this kind of lifestyle will end up leading to burnout and stress. But I love reading these kinds of storylines because I find they motivate me to work a bit harder. Second on my list is Toru from Fruit Baskets. I'm sure you've all heard of Fruit Baskets. It was first serialized in a Japanese magazine called Hana Toryume in 1999, so it's been around for a while, and it is extremely popular, having sold 30 million copies worldwide as of 2018. So it follows Toru Honda, whose mother recently died. She ends up with no place to live, and so she lives in a tent in the forest, not wishing to burden her friends. She also has school tuition fees to pay, which is normal for students aged 15 to 18 attending senior high school in Japan. In order to pay for these, again, so she isn't a burden on her grandfather, she has an after-school job. She's genuinely a kind-hearted character, and she inspires me because she just gets on with life. She has this resilience that is truly admirable. She's just lost her mum, someone she loves dearly, and she still manages to have a positive outlook on life. She's so hardworking, spending all her day at school, working as a cleaner at a company, and still finding time to study whilst living in a tent. To me, that is someone focused on a goal, hers being to graduate from high school and make her mum proud. She is not the most academic of students, but she tries her best, which is all anyone can ask. Thankfully, her housing situation improves as she ends up living with some of the Soma family, who are actually part of the zodiac and can turn into the zodiac animals when they are hugged by someone of the opposite sex. But even when she moves in with them, she still works hard in exchange for living there, cooking, cleaning, making sure everyone is okay. You can probably see a theme here. I find it really inspirational reading about characters who have lots to do and work their butts off trying to get everything done. Now, I appreciate, again, in the real world, this can lead to stress and burnout. And in the manga, both Kaya and Toru do end up sick because of overworking themselves. But reading about characters working so hard they get sick doesn't mean I have to. But it does give me more drive to achieve the things I want to. Okay. The number one person in Shojo who I find really motivating is Kyoko from Skip Beat. I love this series. I started reading it when I was younger, and I read it online, and then I went through a phase of not really reading manga very much, and then I rediscovered this series a few years ago. This manga series was first published in 2002 and follows a girl called Kyoko, who is 16 years old at the start of this series. She moves to Tokyo when her childhood friend Sho asks her to move with him. He goes on to become a famous idol while she doesn't go to senior high school, instead working all day so she can afford an apartment in Tokyo for her and Sho. One day, she hears him say that he only asked her to move with him because he didn't know how to clean and cook, and she is devastated. She wants revenge, and he kind of challenges her by saying that he'll soon be so famous she won't be able to get anywhere near him. He even invites her to join the business, meaning the idol, singing, acting business. I won't say more because everything after that isn't mentioned in the blurb, but she is such a great character. She gave up her academic life so she could support them both in Tokyo, working multiple jobs and never really buying the things that she wants, like makeup. That laser focus on working well and securing a home in Tokyo, despite the financial constraint, is admirable. Ultimately, she put her trust in the wrong person, but I love how she doesn't collapse. She's angry and she wants revenge. And she does not give up. At all. She keeps trying again and again. She powers through difficult and sometimes humiliating situations, never losing sight of her goal to make it big in show business, to get back at Sho. One of the reasons I find Kyoko such a great character is that she wins people over in such great ways. Yes, it's a bit of a cliche that everyone ends up liking the main character because she does something kind to them, but this manga does it in such a way that you sometimes can't pinpoint the exact moment Kyoko's won someone over. She just does so through her hard work, and as time goes on, dedication to her craft, which isn't solely motivated by her hatred of Sho, which is a good thing. She manages to win over this guy who definitely does not like her at the start, which is refreshing. Of the 3 characters I've chosen, I picked Kyoko as the most motivating character, partly because of just how inspiring her focus and dedication is, but also because even when she changes track and has a new life goal, she pursues it with the same tenacity as her previous goal, if not more so. I like that. I also relate to her more because she feels more flawed than the other 2. Yes, all 3 are amazing and achieve what they want, but I feel like Kyoko does this whilst acknowledging that her goals aren't pure. They aren't self-righteous, and I think that makes her more human and more relatable. That could be because she has an inner demon talking to her. I love that the mangaka, Yoshiki Nakamura, made the artistic choice to have an angel and a demon on her shoulders. It adds so much comedy to the stories. But anyway, that's beside the point. I also want to say that it required a lot of motivation and perseverance to get these manga books. Midnight Secretary was quite difficult to get hold of, at least some volumes were, as they were out of stock everywhere, and I had to request restock notifications on a few websites. The same for Skip Beat. I didn't even attempt trying to get hold of the single volumes because they were out of print, and I had some real pain getting hold of some of these 3-in-1 volumes. Some were out of stock everywhere, except where people were selling them secondhand for exorbitant prices. I paid £26.50 for this volume. This is volume 8, and at the time that was a bargain. I bought the first 7 volumes for £100, which again at the time was great value. Now you can buy them all at cheap prices on Sci-Fi. Part of me wishes I'd waited, but then Sci-Fi didn't even exist back then, and I can't predict the future. I can't predict that one day a website is going to appear and sell all the out-of-stock manga you want. So I have forgiven myself for spending lots of money on manga in the past. But if you want to buy these manga, there's a link in the description below, and I have a discount code for you, Jay's Manga, which gets you an extra 5% off their prices, which are already significantly reduced. So please do help yourselves. For me, Fruit Baskets was a bit different because I had bought most of the volumes when I was younger, and now I'm resigned to never getting the last few single volumes. So these are my top 3 motivational characters in shoujo. What do you think of my choices? I imagine many of you will have different choices, so please do let me know in the comments below, because I definitely want to read more manga with inspirational characters in them. I hope you all have a lovely month and that this video has motivated you in some way, even if it's just to read more manga. Have a lovely manga reading month, everyone. Bye!